Welcome. I'm so pleased to be with all of you in the Zoom room this morning. It's 11 here in Victoria, British Columbia. Maybe some of you are evening or afternoon, so welcome everyone. I still have a slide talking about Zoom. I am pretty sure that most of you have used Zoom many, many times now, but just so you know, you have been muted, but we really want you to engage during the session so you can use the chat function, and you can also just raise your hand, maybe more at the end of the session for questions. And you can always use those little emojis. If we say anything you like, you can use your heart or just a thumbs up. And I'm very grateful for some folks from the enrollment team in the chat. So I think Alana and Tracy are here with us. So they will be posting links as we go. And we'll share a recording link with you at the end of the session, and all those links will be included. So you can be fully present with us and just listen, enjoy, and please ask questions as we go. So we're here, of course, to talk about Railroads University, and we are here to talk about the MBA program in executive management. So my name is Nancy Prévost-Maurice. I work with the student recruitment team for a few years now. Very excited to be here, talk about the program and learn from the student experience and from Geoff, who is teaching in this program. So Geoff, welcome. Can you just share a few words about yourself?
Great. Hi there. Yeah, I've been with Royal Roads for about 15 years. I'm in the Faculty of Management, and I've taught entrepreneurship and strategy and sustainability. And in the MBA program, I'm the strategy person, and I'm really enjoying that role for about a year and a half now.
Wonderful. Thank you. And yeah, we'll kind of share the content with all of you here, answer any questions we may have. And I'm glad that Geoff, you'll bring that kind of perspective and all the experience you're getting working with students over the many years you have been with the institution. I'm just letting more people in. Amazing. And as we get started here, I'm just inviting all of us to maybe take a deep breath, ground our feet, close any other apps you might have going, put your phone away if you can be with us for, I would say, 40, 45 minutes today. And let's also acknowledge the lands that we're joining on today. So I am on Railroads campus today, very grateful to be on the Lekwungen speaking people lands, known as the Songhees and Esquimalt nations. And it's with deep gratitude that we learn, love, play, work here, where the history of Indigenous and non-Indigenous people come together. So if you're joining us from somewhere else in BC, in Canada, in the world, and you know the Indigenous names, please put them in the chat. We always love to hear from you. And it's very important for us as a step to reconciliation here to acknowledge the lands. So thank you for this. And as I get started to tell you a little bit more about Railroads, I'll have a few slides for you talking about the institution generally, and then we'll deepen our knowledge or content about the MBA program. But I think I have a poll for us just to get started. I'll see if I can find it, just to understand what you want to take from the session today. So I think you should see the poll if you'd like to just answer. So what is your main interest today? Will it be the program description, student experience, the courses, or the services available? Thank you for I'll just give you a quick second to do it. That's fantastic. So this is what we have in mind: program description, student experience, and a bit of the services available. So thank you everyone I can share the result. I think maybe you can see them here, about 60%, 30%. So that's what we'll do for today. Deal. So Railroads University, I know some of us in the chat here are alumni. I am a graduate myself. I graduated last year, and I can tell you firsthand that Railroads University, when we say first name first, it's so true. So we're a small institution where people like of many services will get to know you on a personal basis. So people will know your name, your schoolmates will become your colleagues, of course, and your friends. An instructor will call you by your name and not by a number as in other institutions. When we talk about our real world classroom, so you will bring your professional life challenges and also opportunities into the classroom. So it's really a program that is hands-on in a way that the cases, we talk about the stories. It's all real stuff happening out there that you bring into the classroom to talk with your instructors and your schoolmates. Learn together forever. So as you come to Railroad, of course, you build your network. You meet with amazing mentors, associate faculty, the staff. You will create a network of alumni, of friends, and even when you graduate, we keep in touch, and you'll be kind of part of that Railroads family forever. And something me and Geoff really wanted to talk about is life is also in education. So we have that unique feature that we call flexible admission, where your work experience will count towards your admission. So I'm sure you'll see some links about it in the chat, but it's about 10 years of experience that we require for the MBA program. But the fun thing is that if you don't have that kind of regular educational path of like high school, college, bachelor, and master, with your experience, your work experience, you can still get into the degree. And I think we were chatting, Geoff, about 50% of our students will come from a traditional path, but 50% will be flexible admission. And I think you were saying, Geoff, it creates a really rich experience in the classroom, right?
What I've found in teaching all over the world, I've had positions at universities in the US, in China, in Singapore, and in Canada here at Royal Roads. I've had thousands of students over the years studying MBAs or a master in technopreneurship, all kinds of cool fields. And the folks who I've met at Royal Roads who were flexible admissions are so very impressive from my perspective, having met all these people who are all excelling in academia. I find that the engagement that comes from a person who has come to get an MBA to affect their next move in life is just so thorough and genuine. And I see those people really blossoming through the program and afterwards.
That is amazing. And we'll tell you more in a few minutes about all the admission requirement and everything. More people coming in. Welcome, welcome, everyone. And here I just have a quick slide for us. The Alumni Relation did a survey a few months or years back, and this is kind of what the alumni say. So I think it's really meaningful learning from the people who have been in our programs. And on top of all those data, you can look here. I don't know if you saw, but a few days ago, Course Compare, it's a highly trusted platform for education insight. They just released an anticipated annual report, the 2025 ranking of the best school and programs across Canada. And Royal Road made it to the top university for their online schooling and the blended programs. And this is a blended program we'll talk about in MBA. But just so you know, Royal Roads, we have 38 online programs and 44 blended. And we go from business, communication, environmental science, executive education, tourism, and hospitality. So it's just to give you a glance that there's quite a lot of people happy of the work we do. And I think this is why we're excited to talk about the program and the institution here. Just briefly, I don't know if some of you can raise their hand if you have been to railroads before, your virtual hands or your real hand. As you know, we have a beautiful campus, 565 acres of land right by the water. And of course, you'll be studying mostly online during your MBA, but you will come to campus for a few residencies. So this is why we love to share pictures. So you can see the beauty. We have the Hatley Castle, which is kind of iconic item or building on campus, I should say, built from the Dunsmuir family. Tons of movies have been filmed there. Please follow us on social media. We always post about that. We have the beautiful Japanese garden. We have the lagoon at the bottom left, where it's super nice to just go for a walk, do some studying over there, meet with your colleague. And at the bottom right, you can see online environment, because Royal Road, since day one, since 1995, we are doing online courses. So it's not something we had to pivot during the pandemic. It's really something that we have always been doing for 30 years now. So we're pretty good at it. Anything to add about the campus, Geoff?
Well, it's a really wonderful place. And what I find is that my MBA students develop such an esprit de corps during their residencies, right? So you do come physically to school. That's what blended means, and I'm sure I'm stealing a page from Nancy here. But my answer about the campus is that it's the place where your cohort will incubate that sense of togetherness that pervades all of your online calls and interactions with teams and WhatsApp chats and all your group projects going forward.
Very true. Yeah, and I met some of the students on campus just a few days ago, and they were so excited. Yeah, people were walking around, studying in different places on campus, and yeah, you can feel the synergy between everybody. And we are a Changemaker campus, so that Ashoka U accreditation, you can Google that after the webinar. It's pretty cool because it's really only a few institutions in North America who get that designation. And for us, it really kind of refer to our mission as an institution, which is the courage to empower you actually with the courage to transform the world. So Ashoka U, it's really for Changemaker students and alumni. So we're very grateful and proud, I would say, about that accreditation here. So enough of just maybe railroads. We'll dig into the program delivery here, and me and Geoff will just kind of build on from here. And something I really want to focus on as well is that we are an institution for working professionals. So most people will come to railroads and continue working full time. So that's a huge advantage. Not to say that it's easy, but it's doable. We all kind of go through it, but you can keep your job and study at home because most of the courses will be taken online. And yeah, so let's see that program delivery here. I don't know if we, Geoff, do you want to walk us through a little bit and then I'll add to it?
Yeah, so this, I guess, is where we're defining blended learning for those of you who are new to it. So, of course, you have online learning, and you get what that is. And the idea of the blended model is to combine, long periods of time where you're interacting mainly digitally in a way that's the most convenient for you and the progress through your life, work-wise and otherwise. But then we're combining that with different visits to campus. And in the case of the MBA, there are two of them for 2 weeks, and those occur at the different sort of the 1/3, 2/3 mark as you're going through your MBA, and that happens in both of the two different lengths of MBA that are offered. Um, Given people's work responsibilities, the MBA is offered in two levels of intensity, really. And so you can embark upon this journey and get the whole thing, soup to nuts finished in 18 months. Or if you want to lower course load during your time, then you can dial it back to the 31-month program, either of which is going to have this same structure of a residency that brings you together with your classmates and some faculty for a really engaging experience. And then otherwise, it's going to back down to fit into your life more conveniently.
Yeah, well said. And I think about the online learning, a question we often get is how does that work for the 15, 20 hours a week? And of course, as you start your course, you'll get that schedule from your instructor and you can see where will be the crunch time so you can plan ahead. But I think 15 to 20 hours a week is kind of fair, huh, Geoff, to be able to do all the readings and the teamwork and everything.
Yeah, yeah. And well, of course, that'll be slightly different whether you're 18 or 31
Mm-hmm.
months, because the 31 months is less intense. You'll have fewer courses simultaneously, for example. The workload is the same, but it's stretched out over a longer period of time. So if you wanted to get on the shorter end of that continuum, then that might be the option for you.
Yeah, exactly. And the on-campus learning, I know that the residency, sometimes we're like, oh, can I take that much vacation from work? But really, this is always a highlight. I think all alumni I meet throughout the years, it's always when they come to campus and they get to meet with their cohort and the faculty and the staff, they say it's always a highlight and where they learn the most. So I'm very happy that this program still do the online and the on-campus offering. And someone is asking me in the chat, yeah, about the online learning for sure. How you can manage that with your work is I know personally I was doing, for example, Tuesday night and Thursday night, I was doing all my homework. And then on Saturday, I will be meeting with my team or cohort and do more of the teamwork. So it's totally manageable. You just need to kind of fit it in your schedule as it fit your schedule. But you need to be ready for 18 or 31 months that are intense, but at the same time it's very inspiring because you're sharing the space with 20, 30 people who are going through that as well. So I hope that answered that question here. And yeah, on campus learning, we say you're coming to Railroads, of course, and we have some residency here that you can stay on. So you don't have to worry about staying downtown or anything. We have residency for you on campus in-house. And I think someone just posted a link about it. So wonderful. Um, and we'll continue with our slide. Yeah, you can walk us through and I'll add to it. Thank you.
Yeah, so the Royal Roads MBA has been around for more than 25 years. You work, as we've mentioned, you can continue working, right? This isn't disruptive to the life that you're already leading, it's additive. It helps you self-actualize, to plan ahead for different career moves that you might have in mind now, or it opens your eyes to other career moves that you maybe hadn't considered. Maybe a spark will light a fire in you to pick up and do something different or do something better down the road. So this is really what people are drawn to when they're applying to the MBA at Royal Roads, is this transformative experience.
Well said, huh? Yeah, yeah. And I know that on the next slide, we'll talk about some alumni that you know that have kind of switched or start their own business or do something very different. But you're right. I meet so many MBA grad that were like, oh, I just wanted a business degree. But then they're like, wow, I got so much more. I discover a lot about myself. I discover an amazing network. And sometimes they do a career switch that they didn't even think about or envision. So that's very cool. And I like that we say at the bottom, and I'm sorry the slide is cut a bit, but you'll join a cohort of 30 to 40 mid-careers professional plus years of experience. And I think it relates to what we mentioned at the beginning. It's the people in your classroom are all amazing people. So you're coming with your experience, your worldview, but then you're kind of challenged and learning from each other. So there's a lot of diversity in our classroom. And I think it really set us up for success when we move on with our career too, because you develop that teamwork. And something I want to add to the work while you study, thank you, Chris, in the chat, because it's right. When you come to campus for your residency, it's not recommended to work at the same time, meaning you take some time off work and then you come to Railroad and you'll be like, I don't want to say 40 hours, 50 hours, but during residency, they're pretty intense. So you'll be full on at school again. Um, and yeah, I really like that quote that I was reading on our website. And if you're curious, you can go to railroads.ca. And this is a recent grad here, Don, that shares his reflection on an intense, inspiring, and energizing 2 weeks on campus. And he mentioned that his residency was packed with thought-provoking conversation, deep reflection, and growth. And it was also tough. So yeah, we're not here to lie. Getting into that degree is kind of hard, but it's so rewarding. And this is someone who works for Island Health as a cloud architect. So that's pretty cool. And I think, Geoff, you had two stories maybe for us of alumni that you have been meeting with.
Yeah, at least two over the years. Don, who is showcased on the slide here, was one of my students very recently. And just something I'm going to throw out there is I was so impressed with his diligence, and I had so much fun watching the new learning on board with him, right? Because of his function in the healthcare system and, in a provincial government job. It wasn't known to him all these cool different features of the business world, and I remember specifically watching him interact online in our Moodle forums, which are like chat rooms, right? That are separate from, but of course related to our weekly Zoom calls, right? And I do remember that during the days when we weren't having a live interactive lecture, I could see his learning progress, and he doesn't know that I know that or that I shared it. So shh, but it was really cool as a professor professor to see people learning online in a way that's different from maybe what you're imagining right now, where you're thinking, oh, okay, I go to a Zoom thing, I read a book, and then I fill out a quiz. It's not simple like that. It's not basic in that way. It's more holistic, and you are learning throughout the whole week. And you're not only learning from your instructors, but there's also this terrific sense of what I call lateral learning, where your peers, your classmates, they're bringing examples that are either from their professional backgrounds or from their current live scenarios, right? With the things that they're working through at the office, they're bringing all of that into each week's reading. And it's not uncommon for people to say, this week's reading was awesome, and I whipped up a thing and I took it to my boss, or I went to this team meeting and I was the hero, right? Because I took all this stuff right here that I just learned 5 minutes ago and I'm actively applying it. So I've seen that, and I really get a lot of fun out of that as the instructor from my side. But as Nancy was alluding, I had talked about this with her in advance, that two students come to mind when I'm trying to describe how people find themselves or catalyze what they were already about, but in a way that's professionalized through the MBA. And so the first of those students would be David Dallin, who was an MBA graduate a couple of years ago. And he had a full 20-year career in the Navy. I went to his final event there in the CFB Esquimalt with his dress whites on like Top Gun. And so he's a family man with a couple of kids and a nice house. And he had built this career in the Navy, and he had acquired the Royal Roads MBA along the way. And when he retired from the Navy, he was still only barely 40 years old or something. And he has just co-founded a very successful beverage distribution business that solves a problem. So, as some of you might know, entrepreneurs are generally about solving problems, making something easy for somebody who is currently frustrated with their lack of options or services or products. And so David and his buddies have co-founded something called, very simply, drink distribution, and they are connecting the dots in the supply chain in alcohol in Canada, but they also have American customers and American competitors. And so it's a really intensive and an interesting business that they've chosen to build as part of effectively his second career, right, in series rather than parallel. And Tara Black is the other student who came to mind, who was just really a bright spark while she was in school with us. She had many years of experience as a pastry chef. And so, like some other Royal Road students who I have met recently, she has a trades background, right? So some of our students are electricians, or they work with the union, or they're in the trenches building a restaurant. I had a student a year ago who has a top 100 restaurant in Canada. And he's the creator, the chef, the everything. So Tara's background was similar. She was a pastry chef, and then she had co-founded a gluten-free bakery here in Victoria. And over the course of 10 years, she had expanded to 2 locations. And somewhere in there, she matriculated in the Royal Roads MBA. And during this MBA, she, of course, formalized a lot of the notions that had been floating around in her head about future expansion and strategically, what exactly do I do? And so she has, in the last 6 months, come back to Royal Roads as a guest speaker, and she has told my students in the undergraduate level, she has told them about how she has progressed her 2 restaurant business into a franchise that I think is really poised to take over North America, because, like David, her business solves a problem. Where does somebody with gluten intolerance, where do they find food that they can trust? And so it's a bakery, but it also has a refrigerator. And in the refrigerator, they also have pizza dough and other things that you might eat at different times of the day. It's not all really tiny eclairs that are amazing. And so she has moved her business from here to here to here. Now she's off the screen, after doing a Royal Roads MBA because she has sold her original two locations. She used to own them. Like if you talked to her 2 years ago, she was the proprietor of two businesses, and now she's sold them to other people, formalized that paperwork, and she's in the process of signing up hundreds of gluten-free franchises across North America.
Isn't it fantastic? Wow, I love it. And actually, just connecting the dot, right? At Railroad, everybody's connected. And Tara is also involved with our TEDx talk that is coming up in May. So I was very excited to know she's in the organizing committee. So it's like, wow, all those different hats she's wearing. A question in the chat, Geoff, about from Ryan, is any part of the online learning required to be completed at a specific time of the business day? So for example, professor instruction at 10 or group work at 2, or is all online learning self-paced where the workload can be completed at the daily, weekly time we choose?
So I think that you would typically have two online classes simultaneously as you're going through the program. Again, that could be less if you're taking the longer version, but you're going to have a minimum of one online class happening in any given semester or quarter. And each of those classes will have a 90-minute Zoom call that is at a predictable time. It will either be Tuesday or Thursday. Usually it's something like 5:30 or 6 o'clock West Coast time, so that the people on the East Coast or people that are way out in that half a time zone off the coast of Nova Scotia, so that those people do not end up having to stay up all night to be on this phone call. And I do have people who log in from far-flung places when they're on business trips, but the sort of the standard minimum commitment is about an hour and a half on, say, Tuesday night and Thursday night if you're in the regular 18-month MBA program.
Wonderful. Yeah. And you will work with your team to kind of find a time that work for everybody to do other work and stuff. But yeah, and I think if you miss one live session, then it's often recorded and posted on Moodle. But I think to your point, Geoff, of course, the more we come live and the more we gain from the program and the conversations. Yeah. And here we have two program completion. Are you familiar with those, Geoff? Have you kind of teaching one of those or?
No, this hasn't been part of my experience, but I know that these are really interesting options that can bring you all around the world or can bring you new certifications. And they've been very carefully designed and prototyped over the years so that that can really work for you pretty quickly, I think. That this management consulting option is laddered in together with certified management consulting group, right? So that this can be something that's less of a gold star on a piece of paper and more implementable, right? That's ready to
Mhm.
go.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. And this is why at one of my coming slide, you'll have the email address from our enrollment team, because this is something you can discuss with them as well. If you're like, yeah, I want to get into the program, I'm not sure yet about your option, it's totally fine. And I just bring your attention at the bottom of the page here, because if you already completed a Railroad graduate certificate, maybe not all of them, but some of them will qualify and give you a 9 credits towards your MBA, which I think is very fun, because sometimes people like to start with their certificate and be like, okay, I'm ready for more. So you can build from it. And here I'll just a little bit, as you mentioned, Geoff, this is super cool because towards that completion or that, yeah, that completion of your degree too, there's some professional certification that railroads work with that you can gain some of those titles, if I can say. And as we know, it's all about that network that can bring your career up, or if you open a business, then you can connect with some of those folks. Are you involved with any of those, Geoff? I know the Project Management Institute, they came as a speaker a few months ago on campus. That was very fun.
Well, I know that the CMC was developed with Mike Thompson, over the course of several years, and he's a former banker who's very well regarded in the management consulting circles, and that is really a certification or a designation that I think people really find to be very professionally useful, right out of school.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And yeah, someone is asking me totally when we talk about working professional in mind, most of our faculty, associate faculty, like people are still really connected with kind of the groundwork, if I can say. People have amazing connection out there, association they know about. So you find all that in the program. I hope that answered the question. But yeah, the way we design the program is really aligned with what is needed out there when you're looking for your next move in your career. Uh, and yeah, what does a course look like? I don't know if you have any example for us here. I know we talked about a few student experience. I know for me in my master, it was kind of 10 weeks with some teamwork and assignment and Moodle. I think you talked about it a bit, but anything to add there?
Yeah, so my strategy course is in the middle of the MBA, and that's appropriate because I think, and this isn't from a selfish perspective, I think it's just logical that strategy is central to any organization. So I have students, as I've mentioned, who are in the trades. I have students who are executives in the extractive industries. I have students who are working in harm reduction, who are working for nonprofits, who are working for healthcare. And so this strategy course is designed to be useful and engaging and enlightening to everyone. And so, of course, some students might come into that class setting knowing more about mergers and acquisitions, whereas others would know more about human resources. But that's part of the experience of getting your MBA. And in a microcosm, in the course of the strategy class, what you'll do is you'll have two projects that you do as a team. So you'll have two assignments where you're developing a strategic plan or elements of a strategic plan, working on this cross-functional interdisciplinary team that's usually located all over the place and meeting on WhatsApp, typically on Saturdays, as Nancy foreshadowed earlier. That's kind of the normal big spike in activity, which is something that isn't foreign to the workplace. I remember years ago, I was working at Yahoo in Silicon Valley, and our big competitor was eBay at the time, and their big day was Sunday. So for the rest of my life, I will always remember everything goes wild on eBay on Sunday. Don't ever end your auction on a different day of the week because that's the only one where people are getting stuff done. So similarly here, the online students, of course, are all working and they make the time for those phone calls, and then they get a couple of comments in here and there during the week, like I was outing Don Coleman for learning in a very obvious way earlier during the week. But Saturday's the sort of big day when people have their team meetings and they bring it all together. Assignments are typically due at the very, very end of the day on any given Sunday during an 8 or 9 week course. So there's two team assignments in the strategy course. There are also two individual assignments, and this is where I really wanted to land the point that Royal Roads works for you. And that sounds cheesy, but in practice, what I mean is you're supposed to develop a strategic plan for an organization that is personally meaningful. Now, if you're working in the government, you might think, well, that's nice, but I don't really want to do another strategic plan about this organization. I spend my whole day here or many years, and that's not in my purview. Somebody else does that. Well, great. Maybe there's something where you volunteer, some organization that you're already helping with, but you could be even more helpful if you would strategize, if you would think about the future, their competition, what their value proposition is, where they're oriented, and how they would best serve their population. So I have seen that several times where I have had students who apply this sort of choose your own adventure opening to take this coursework and make it useful to some cause that they're interested in. I've also seen students take this and apply it to their workplace, and that could be very instrumentally useful to you, of course, if you're about to take on a new role, if you're dreaming of taking on a new role, if you want to impress your superiors that you're really thinking beyond the current responsibilities that you currently hold. So that's what it looks like in practice for me. Is it's a 9 week course with a big hub of activity, usually on a Saturday, two team projects, 2 individual assignments, but the individual assignments are, like most things at Royal Roads, customized for you and to be convenient for your life and to be enthusing for you. They are choose your own adventure.
Such a great description. Thank you so much. And yeah, I think one question we had in the chat that Alana answered, yeah, there's some short breaks between the programs. So as we mentioned, few weeks intense, then a short break, then a few weeks, and depending of the 18 or the 31 months as well. So thank you everybody for helping out in the chat, and thank you for, yeah, that was so wonderful, Geoff. You're really answering a lot of how does that work and that customized program exactly that we work for our students, because we want our students to succeed. It's all about that's our main mission. And yeah, I'm sure we're getting you maybe excited to apply. So just a quick few slides here on how to apply. So you go to railroads.ca and then you'll click the button apply, and here is what you need to submit. So you'll pay your online application of $136.69, and then you will see that you have a portal that will kind of open for you where you can upload your documents. And please know that we will walk you through that process, meaning that if you forget to upload something or if you're unsure, you will get some reminder from the system, if I can say. So we're asking you to submit any official transcript from all your past post-secondary degrees. So this is something, even if you'll see that our upcoming dates for the program are in a few months, it's already something, if you want to get into the program, you need to think about and ask your post-secondary institution to send to Railroads. So that's a few steps, but they're really easy to do if you're organized and you kind of do one by one. So official transcript, a detailed resume. We recommend don't use a resume you have 2 years from like ago and you did for a job. Like really tailor it to the MBA program. And there's tons of guidance on the website. So as you will click on the application requirement and admission requirement, there's a lot of even sentences and phrases to guide you through to build your detailed resume and your statement of intent, which is almost like a cover letter, why we should approve you to the program. We're asking for a writing sample, so it's written as well on the website. What does that mean? How long it should be? All those details. 2 letters of reference. We recommend one from your academic world or one from work. And of course, if you are coming through flexible admission, the academic letter can be flexible. And English language requirements. If English is not your first language, then we have details about it on the website as well to see what you need to submit to make sure that your English is strong enough to be in the program. I'm not sure if there's anything in the chat, or Geoff, do you want to add to this?
No,
I'll
I
look.
think that was well explained, and I look forward to the questions in the chat, particularly folks who are curious about how this would work if they hadn't followed that traditional path through undergraduate with the transcripts and so forth. This is really part of Royal Roads' raison d'être. It's our purpose. It's why we're here, is to help people build themselves up through education. And so we have a particular eye on being welcoming and inclusive at this stage and hoping to take some of the edge off what might be naturally daunting because of the aura around the 3 letters of the MBA out there in the real world.
Yeah, wonderful. I'm just looking at the chat at the same time. There's a lot of conversation there. Thank you everyone for asking question and answering question. So yeah, and the application process is quite smooth, but you will have to have all those documents in. And my next slide, I think, is with the date. So both intake, the 18 and 31 months, they start at the same time. So the next intake is July 21st, 2025. And your application deadline is usually about 3 months before, so April 21st. And we need all your documents by that date. So even if it looks far from today, it's like 3 months from now. But if you're really interested in joining the July cohort, already put your application in, start uploading your documents so you're ready. Because what we don't want you is like rush at the end and then you're not fully prepared. I think being a little bit in advance will help you. And if you're not ready for this summer, or I know some people in the chat were like, oh, I'll be away and things like that, you can totally start next year in January. And the deadline for this one will be October. So we're really trying to work with deadlines, but something that is super fun at Railroads is that we have a rolling admission. So you don't need to wait for the deadline. If you apply today, you submit all documents, you'll get an answer kind of pretty fast. So the advisor won't wait until April. They might give you an answer as we go. So that's super fun. I know I got into my program many months in advance, and it kind of gave me the space I needed to get ready to tell my friends, my partner, everybody that I'll be at school full time and that I will need their support. So no need to wait too long. And as you apply, you can select the 18 or the 31 month intake. Other than that, I just want to touch quickly on the services available. I acknowledge in the chat many people are talking about funding, so please connect with our financial aid and award team. So there's a team here that just posts on our website all the funding you can get. I know there's often a 1 year, like $1,000 you can get as a first year master student. There's a few grants here and there you can apply. You can ask around as well in the community. I know there's some community grants available, and also the enrollment services. So all my colleagues here in the chat have done a phenomenal job at just posting links, and you can connect with them at learn.more@railroads.ca. You can meet on Zoom with them and just ask questions, especially if you have, not a tricky, but a situation you're like, oh, I'm not sure about this. I have questions really specific to the course or my background. So they're really there to do that support, and they have worked with hundreds of prospects like yourself, so they're really of good guidance. And then other than that, just a little peacock picture to say a big thank you for sharing the space with us. And maybe what I can do is end the recording and we'll stay on a few minutes if you have any questions. Thank you, Chris, who is our program manager who helped in the chat as well. And a big thank you for you, Geoff. I feel that I can listen to you all day long. You're so inspiring and dynamic. I love it.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you, everyone, and we hope to see you in the program and on campus soon. Here we go.